picture this, you witness something you should not have, and now your life is in danger. So they put you in a witness protection program and move you from New York City to Kentucky. And now you're living on this huge plot of land with some brothers who make bourbon for a living. And of course, your tiny little house just happens to be right across the way from the one brother who cannot stand you, who doesn't want you there, who wants nothing to do with you. And you really enjoy pushing that cowboy's buttons, okay, if you know what I mean? But then one morning you're taking a shower and your hot water turns to cold and you're like, absolutely not. So you whip up like a quick breakfast casserole, you go over to his house, you knock on the door and you're like, hi, I need to shower, is that okay? And he kind of just looks at you and you're like, I brought breakfast. And he's like, yeah, I guess that's fine. So you shower, and by the time you come out, he's leaning against the counter, he's eating your breakfast casserole, and he's like, hey, I fixed your hot water valve, you should be okay. And you're like, thank you. And he's like, well, would you like some of the breakfast? And you're like, you know what? Sure. So you sit down, you start eating when you notice a coffee pot in the corner and you're like, oh my God, please tell me that coffee pot works. And he's like, yeah. And you tell him that you don't have one, so you've been going into town every morning to get your coffee and it's just a hassle. And he's like, oh, okay, whatever. And then you leave, you go on your separate ways. But over the next couple of days, you start building a little bit more of a friendship. You try to get him to open up, but he really isn't there yet. Until one morning you wake up and his dog is in bed with you and you're like, oh, sweetheart, how did you get in here? And then you come out into the kitchen and you smell something and you look and it's just a coffee pot in the corner brewing coffee. And then a little note that says, now you don't have to go into town every morning. And you realize that he went into your house early in the morning to give you a coffee pot. What would you do? Because I would tell you to read Bourbon and Lies. This was such a good small town light romantic suspense. You're welcome.